outside.
I've got to go away.
Baby, it's cold outside.
This evening has been
I'm hoping that you drop in.
very nice.
I'll hold your hands, they're just like
My
ice.
mother will start to worry.
Beautiful, what's your hurry?
And father will be pacing the floor.
Roxie, the shivering dog. Well, this is her tunnel. It's right here by the back door. She can come out and get in the tunnel. Of course, sometimes she doesn't like to use it. I wanted to show you what it looked like with snow on it.
Say, what's in this dress? I wish I knew.
Sort of junky looking in, but that gives her a protected place to get out of it.
At least I'm gonna say that I tried.
What's the sense in hurting my pride?
Really can't stay.
Baby, don't hold out, but it's cold outside.
This is Roxie. She's our 7-year-old Boston Terrier. We got as a 3-year-old from a rescue shelter in Louisville, Kentucky. And if you're familiar with Boston Terriers, they don't have a lot of hair on their skin for insulation, so they get hot in the winter or summertime and cold in the wintertime. And one problem we found with Roxie is sometimes in the rain she doesn't like to go out and pee. So, although she's getting a lot better now, because she's gotten older and learned. But one thing I came up with was a couple years ago I came up with these tunnels for her to use in the wintertime. And you can see there's a split here. Here's one, here's our pet door. She comes out and she goes through the tunnels. And I'll show you how to make a linking tunnel here. And especially in the wintertime when we have big heavy snow and stuff, it gives her some place where she can actually feel the ground and run around. And although the snow doesn't bother her that much, but we like to spoil her. So I wanted to show you how we made these tunnels. Start out with the main thing was 2x4s along the lengths. So that gives you 8 foot long. Easy to find, 8 foot 2x4s. So you can go to your lumber yard and find those. And then I wanted to use these, they're plastic tubing. There's a fancy name for it, but let's see, cold potable water. The hardware stores know what the PEX. There we go. PEX is what they're called. These are 1/2 inch diameter, and so I wanted to use those. And those come in 10-foot lengths. So if you take one of those and split it in half, it gives you about 5 foot length, and you bend it over, and you can make these about 36 inches, 3 feet wide. So you need a 3-foot piece on either end to connect the two by 8 foot long, 8 foot 2x4s. Anyway, okay. Next, after you connect, I would suggest connecting with some screws on the bottom. I don't know if you can see that or not, but anyway, just screw them together, but leave a place in the center to drill a hole. Which what you're going to do is where these hoops come down at, and I've got 5 of them. It should give you enough support unless you get really heavy snow load. And if you get heavy snow, you need to sweep them off, because the heavy snow will get wet and it will cave these in, because they just won't support that much. But I want to make something that could be taken apart easily, stored for the summer, and then put back together in the fall, and be able to move them around to other locations and things if I needed to. But basically, using 3/8 inch bolts. You can just use round head bolts. You can see that or not. So I've got to drill a hole for those to be able to go through. Use a washer and then a nut to keep those in place. They need to be about 6 inches or so long. That way there's enough sticking up that the pressure of the tubing will keep these in place without fastening them down or anything. You don't have to tape them down. Just the pressure of the tube pushing out holds them in place. Then I've tried different methods to support the plastic on top, but basically use zip ties or cable ties they call them, and fasten the length, the 10-foot length long. But basically I'm going to use 5 long pieces to support the plastic, and this gives me enough support so a little bit of snow and stuff it'll hold up okay. Okay, well, took a little break there. We're back here showing you how we put these tunnels together. As I was saying, you use zip strips or cable ties at each of the joints. Cut off the extra that you don't need. Didn't leave any of these open. Anyway, and then we're going to cover this with poly. Now what I do, I go to a local hardware store, large one, and buy, this is plastic sheeting or poly. This is 6 mil, so it's a little heavier, so it's going to hold up a little bit longer, maybe 2 seasons if we keep it out of the sun between times. And as you can see, the size is 8 foot 4 inches by 100 feet, and so 100 feet is, it's going to last 2 or 3, 4 years. 8 foot 4 inches, well, you're working with 8 foot long lumber, 8 foot long tunnels, so you got a little bit extra at each end, but that will cover your 8 foot length. Now, so all you have to do is measure the length of one of these hoops, which should be about 5 feet since you cut one of these in half, and then you roll your plastic sheeting out, cut off that 5 feet, measure twice, of course, and spread it out on here. And you can see this is it's all folded up in this box, so that it fits in the box. You take it out, you unfold it, stretch it out, and tack it down along the sides with a good staple gun every so often, and that holds it together pretty good. It's low to the ground, so it's not catching a lot of wind. There's not a lot of stress on the staples, so they don't pull out that much. We'll finish this one up and put it in place, and so you can see the finished product. Okay, here's the section I was working on. Got it covered with the poly sheeting, stapled down. Got it in place between the 2 sections I already had done. And you can see I left some extra conduit tubing attached. I didn't cut it off. What I'm going to do, since the way I've got this tunnel configured is coming from the pet door around the house, around the north side of the house. So I've got this turn. Some years I've put boards here and covered them with glued plastic tarp. This year I'm going to try joining these 2 sets of tubes with some metal rods, and then cover that with plastic and see how that works. We'll work on that another day. At the far end, because this comes out to the west of the house, and of course all the snow and wind comes from the northwest in our area, I've put a couple of gate fence that I had put together. It's got a hinge in the middle. I've made these to use in the house or in the garage or here in the yard to section off openings so that to limit where Roxie can go. Just use poly chicken netting or poultry netting, you might call it, stapled to these frames I put together. And I'm going to cover these with plastic to break the barrier, and then across the top I'll probably put a piece of plywood or something sturdy to hold it together and act as a roof to it. That way when she comes through the tunnel she can come out, and it'll just be facing south, so it should stay fairly clear most of the time, and bring her out on the west side of the house where the sun will hit. In the springtime we'll take these back, move these away from the house. We might have to reseed the ground a little bit, put some straw down, and find a place to put these, or carefully take the poly off, fold it up so you can try to use it again the next year. And might even take the tubes up and let those